What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about another book from the Ultimate Universe. Be prepared, the Ultimate Invasion is a-coming. This is Ultimate Human, according to the cover, but according to the spine, it's Ultimate Hulk vs. Iron Man, Ultimate Human. This is a 4-issue miniseries by Warren Ellis and Cary Nord, and I kind of hated this book. I wish I could remember how I felt about it the first time I read it, which was a very, very long time ago, but reading it this time, I don't think there's any worthwhile aspect to this book. First of all, if you have read The Ultimates 1 and The Ultimates 2 by Bryan Hitch and Mark Millar, I couldn't remember their names for a second, you know that in that, Bruce Banner, he was the Hulk at some time in the past, and then he got all that taken care of, and then he got jealous, and then he deliberately turned himself into a modified version of the Hulk. It was like old Hulk plus a little bit more of the super soldier serum, and then he was put in super prison, and then eventually they were going to execute him. They dropped him, sedated him, and dropped him on this big thing, and they were going to bomb him and kill him. And then somehow Hulk has survived. We don't know how. And then, according to this, Bruce Banner can just walk into Tony Stark's office and say, "Hey, I have an idea. What if you cured me of the Hulk?" And Tony Stark says, "That's brilliant. Let's do it right now." And Tony isn't acting surprised to see that Bruce Banner is still alive, which made me wonder, because it's also been a very long time since I have read The Ultimates by Millar and Hitch, so I have no idea if the Ultimates knew that Hulk survived his execution, or if it was a, shh, we don't talk about that, yes, he survived, let's just keep it hush-hush. It would have made so much more sense if the Ultimates were told, and the public at large were told, yes, the Hulk is dead, we executed him, and then you cut to a dark cell somewhere underground, and Nick Fury is talking to Banner and says, "You're alive, we're going to keep a hold of you, and then we're going to use the Hulk for very, very, very hush-hush secret missions overseas whenever we need you. If we just want to take out an entire battalion of enemy soldiers in like a minute and a half and make sure there's no survivors so that they cannot tell anyone that the Hulk is still alive, that's what we're going to use you for. We could not let a resource like you go to waste by executing you." That would have made a little bit of sense, and then somehow Banner has escaped. I don't know how. And then you could have Banner come in, and Tony, maybe he somehow figured it out because he's a super genius. "Hey, Hulk, I knew that you were alive." And then Hulk says, "I want you to cure me." And then you can kind of kick into the plot of this book. But as is, I don't know how this is supposed to fit in with the rest of the Ultimate Universe that was going on at this time. I am 99% sure this came out before Jeff Loeb and Joe Madureira were doing Ultimates 3, but I don't remember, and I don't even know how much, if the Hulk had anything to do with Ultimates 3. I don't know, because I know very little about Ultimates 3. Let's just leave it at that. So then we have the leader, and in the Ultimate Universe, the leader is Peter Wisdom, a character created by Warren Ellis in the 1990s for his run on Excalibur. And so once again, this proves to me that Warren Ellis is incapable of writing anything without an angry Brit who likes to smoke. You had Elsa Bloodstone in Next Wave, you had Pete Wisdom in Excalibur, and now this. And what's interesting here is that we don't actually see Pete Wisdom smoking, but there is a joke at one point where he walks into his office and there's a no smoking sign on his desk, and he's complaining about it. So still an angry Brit who likes to smoke. His very brief Thor run had a British police officer who, for some reason, was coming over to New York to do something. And so I feel like Warren Ellis just, Elijah Snow, Jenny Sparks, yeah. I guess he just cannot possibly write a story without kind of vaguely inserting himself into the story. But the leader, he needs the blood of Iron Man and the blood of Bruce Banner so that he can save Britain. He used to be part of the British Secret Service, and he had a specific idea of how they could create superhumans to work for the British government, but basically he was told, look, we're going to go with James Braddock over here, and James Braddock is the father of Brian Braddock, who was kind of introduced in Millar's Ultimate X-Men run. We get to see Captain Britain a little bit in that run, but not a whole lot, and so we're told, okay, look, if you can come up with something better than what Braddock has, then we'll go with your idea. And then Pete Wisdom ends up mutilating himself, so now he's got a giant head that he cannot even hold up with his own neck. So they've got this like brace thing to hold up his head because his neck will break if they don't have that thing on there. And like I said, I really hated this book. I don't even know where to begin. So, issue 1, Hulk comes to Tony and says, I need you to cure me. So they go to the Ironworks, which is isolated. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And Tony says, this way, if I have a project I'm working on that's a little bit dangerous, it's not going to hurt any human beings. And then we cut to the leader talking to one of his people. And he says, I have always known that the Hulk would eventually go over to Iron Man and ask for his help. And they would have to go to the Ironworks. And now we're going to kidnap them so that I can use their blood, and he's going to inject it in himself, but he's also going to use it to create better superhumans for the British government, I guess. And Tony, we are told, has nanites in his blood, and this may have come after the Orson Scott Card Ultimate Iron Man minis, I don't know, but in it was within the first 6 issues of the Ultimates by Millar and Hitch, we are told that Tony has a brain tumor, and that is why he does the Iron Man thing, because he wants to do as much good as he can before he dies. And that's a nice, eloquent way of kind of updating his origin from the 60s, where he had a near-death experience, and now the Iron Man suit, he like always has it on, and it's keeping the shrapnel from getting closer to his heart. It's kind of an updated version of that. And then in the Ultimate Iron Man minis by Orson Scott Card, and I cannot remember the artist, I apologize, we are told his entire body is made out of brain matter. And I think this is kind of going with a combination of those two. At one point, someone tells the leader that Tony is unnaturally predisposed to cancer, but they also mention his brain matter taking up so much room in his body as well. So I guess they're kind of trying to go with both, even though, I don't know, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but the leader needs their blood to do his thing, but then for some reason, even though the leader knows that the Hulk is going to Iron Man so that he can get cured, he then allows Iron Man to go through the process of curing the Hulk. And then he kidnaps Hulk and Iron Man. And this made very little sense to me. I guess maybe the thinking was, if we kidnap Hulk before he goes through the procedure, then he will Hulk out on us and he will be dangerous. So we want to wait until Iron Man cures him and then we'll get his blood. But then I was thinking, that doesn't make any sense, because if you get his blood after he's been cured, then you're not getting Hulk blood. At least, I don't think so. But then we're told that Tony can just turn off the nanites that he put in Banner's body, and so I guess you could just separate the nanites from Banner's blood once you've gotten it, and then you have regular Hulk blood. I don't know. So the leader, he kidnaps Hulk and Iron Man. And then issue 3 is all flashbacks showing how Pete Wisdom became the leader. And it's completely pointless because the leader has already monologued with one of his henchmen talking about how so-and-so, these let me try that again. Short-sighted fools, they can't see what they're doing. They fired me after I experimented on myself. We already got all that we needed from the leader's backstory. We did not need an entire issue of flashbacks showing how he got to where he is now. This is a 4-issue miniseries, and one complete issue is all flashback, and it's giving us information that we already had. Now, it is giving us a little bit more, because the leader, when he was monologuing in one of the first 2 issues, he says, I tried to save the world, I experimented on myself, and they fired me. And then we find out in the flashback issue, yes, he did all that, and then he also killed a guy with his mind, and then his boss, instead of just shooting him in the face, said, you're fired, and if any of us ever see you again, we're going to kill you. We're also going to burn your house down for good measure, I guess. And so, yeah, they had a good reason to fire him. I would say they had a good reason to execute him right then and there, since he clearly showed that he was a danger to ordinary civilians, but whatever. So then in issue 4, Tony says, by the way, I can turn off the nanites that are keeping you from turning into the Hulk. And then Banner says, well, what if you can use the nanites in your body to summon Iron Man armors to you? You have a whole bunch of Iron Man armors. Why don't you do that? And Tony's answer is literally, no, I'm sorry, no. And so he turns off the nanites in Bruce's body, headbutts Bruce. Bruce turns into the Hulk, and then Tony is able to trick Hulk into saying, no, it was that big head guy out there who did it. And then big head guy is able to temporarily stop the Hulk from attacking him, but as we find out earlier in this story, the Hulk can adapt. So if you threw the Hulk into the the atmosphere of Venus, which this book says is much worse and much more harsh than the atmosphere of Earth, if you threw him into that gravity, that he would eventually be able to adapt to that and live on another planet with much harsher circumstances. And so Hulk is able to adapt to the leader's telepathic attack, telling him to stop. And then basically a plane crashes and it kills the leader, and then the Hulk runs away. And then that's the end of the book. I hated it. Like I said, there's nothing good to say about this. I have enjoyed Cary Nord's art before. I know he worked on the Conan series with Kurt Busiek, I believe, and I really liked what he did there. I don't like it here. There's just something inhuman about the faces that he's drawing, especially in the flashback issue when Pete Wisdom is talking to some of the other people who work in the British government. Some of these faces, they don't look right to me, and I don't have any room to talk. I can't draw to save my life, but I'm not really a big fan of Nord's artwork here. I really feel like Warren Ellis got really lucky twice. For the most part, I enjoyed Planetary. I liked his run on The Authority quite a bit. I feel like he got really lucky on those two series, and then everything else that he's written has just been him phoning it in. Warren Ellis really likes science and speculating about, like, real science, and this is a whole lot of, like, the first two issues is basically just Tony and Bruce talking science and saying, like, well, what if we did this to cure you? And then there is a Hulk out in issue 2, and incidentally, it's called Ultimate Hulk versus Iron Man, Ultimate Human. The Ultimate Hulk versus Iron Man portion really isn't that big of a part of the story. It happens in issue 2, but it has next to nothing to do with the threat of the leader trying to get the blood of these two so that he can be, wahaha, I'm Sinister. The story should have just been called Ultimate Human, which it is on the cover, but I guess they were worried that people wouldn't buy it unless you have heroes punching each other a little bit, so they have to change the title to something more of a mouthful on the spine. Yeah, the first two issues is a whole lot of characters talking science, and that's kind of just Warren Ellis' shtick, is him really just getting crazy talking about science stuff, and I don't care about science stuff. When I read science fiction, I'm more interested in the fiction than I am the real-world applications of what could be. I just don't care about that kind of thing. I want to see Iron Man and Hulk interacting with each other. I don't want to see two boring scientists talking about boring science stuff. I'm sorry, I don't care. And then the whole third issue is just one giant flashback where the leader, it turns out he's telling his life story to these two, and he says, well, anyway, I'm going to go over here and let you guys have your final words with each other. The leader in here, while he's allegedly supposed to be really smart, he's one of the stupidest characters I've seen in fiction, where he says, okay, I have to experiment on myself so that I can prove to my boss that this is what we need to do with the superhuman stuff in the British government. And then it's like, well, we made an oopsie. This didn't do what it was supposed to do. Now he looks like this. And then he walks away and lets the super genius figure out a way to turn on the Hulk and then send him against the leader and all of his men. It's just really just bad. I don't know how else to say it. I did not enjoy this in the slightest. I've got another Warren Ellis Ultimate book up here. Actually, I've got a few. I forgot that he actually worked on Ultimate Fantastic Four for a little bit. I forgot all about that, but I was thinking of the Ultimate Human, I'm sorry, the Ultimate Galactus trilogy, which is like way there on the end of that shelf. So who knows? That may be the next one I read. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing it by ear on which one I'm going to read next. But those are my very negative thoughts on Ultimate Human. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did or if you didn't, whatever, you will see me again in the future. Have a good one.